46 years. That's how long Richard Phillips spent in prison for a crime he had absolutely nothing to do with, nearly 5 decades stolen from his life. Today, you're going to hear how one man survived injustice, never gave up hope, and finally walked free as America's longest-serving, wrongfully convicted prisoner. Richard Phillips was born in 1946 in Michigan. By the early 1970s, he was a young man living in Detroit. He was working, raising a family, and building a future. He was known as quiet, hardworking, and artistic. No one could have imagined that in just a few years, his life would be turned completely upside down. In 1971, a man named Gregory Harris was murdered. Police were desperate to solve the case, and they quickly turned their attention to Richard, not because of strong evidence, but because his name was brought up by a supposed accomplice who cut a deal with prosecutors. That single statement, without physical proof, without DNA, without reliable witnesses, was enough to change Richard's life forever. In 1972, Richard was put on trial. There was no murder weapon linking him, no fingerprints, no eyewitness who had seen him commit the crime. But prosecutors pressed forward anyway. The star witness claimed Richard was involved, and the jury believed it. Despite his protests of innocence, Richard Phillips was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. At just 26 years old, Richard walked into a prison cell that he would not leave again for nearly half a century. The gavel came down and his world collapsed. One moment, he was a free man. The next, a number in the prison system. Life inside was brutal. Richard had to adjust to the routines of prison. The loud metal doors, the overcrowded cells, the daily fight for survival. But through it all, he clung to his innocence. For years, he filed appeals, wrote letters, begged for someone or anyone to listen. Each time, the answer came back the same: denied. What kept Richard going was his determination to live with dignity. He took up painting. With brushes and watercolors, he began to create vibrant artwork that told his story in a way words never could. His art became a window of hope in a place designed to crush the spirit. But imagine this: while the outside world experienced the rise of the internet, cell phones, social media, and entire cultural revolutions, Richard was still stuck in a 6x8 prison cell. Friends passed away, family members grew old, and Richard remained behind bars. Finally, in the 2000s, cracks began to form in the case. A man named Richard Palumbo, who had originally implicated Phillips, admitted that his testimony was false. He confessed that he had lied to save himself. With this revelation, Richard's case was brought to the attention of the Michigan Innocence Clinic, a group of lawyers and law students dedicated to freeing the wrongly convicted. They took a deep dive into the case, and what they found was shocking. There had never been credible evidence tying Richard to the crime. In 2017, after decades of silence, his voice was finally heard. The conviction was overturned, and in March 2018, Richard Phillips walked out of prison, a free man at the age of 72. Freedom was sweet, but it came at a heavy price. Richard had spent 46 years in prison, the longest time any American had ever served before being exonerated. He had entered as a young man in his 20s. He left as an elderly man in his 70s, but Richard chose not to live in bitterness. Instead, he embraced the time he had left. He continued painting, creating hundreds of pieces of art that not only sustained him emotionally, but also helped him financially as he rebuilt his life. He received some compensation for his wrongful imprisonment, but no amount of money could give back the years stolen from him. Richard's resilience, his ability to walk out with dignity and hope, became a symbol of survival against impossible odds. The story of Richard Phillips forces us to ask hard questions. How could the justice system fail so completely? How many more innocent men and women still sit behind bars, waiting for their truth to be heard? 46 years stolen. Yet Richard walked free with grace, with strength, and with art in his hands. His life is a reminder that, even in the darkest of places, the human spirit can endure. What do you think? Can a system that makes mistakes this big ever truly deliver justice? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.